Hello, everybody. Tyrone the God 3 here. Natalie is with me here.
Hello.
Hey, and we are back from the filler dimension after the blue-headed stepchild took us out from the plot to generally decide now that that's over, we can actually focus back on the tournament, which I gotta say is like a very awkward, like, I don't know, it's such an awkward placement after Noah's Ark to just be like, all right, back to business.
Yeah.
Merrick, how'd you sleep? Right. It derails it a little bit, but is there a way to strategically skip it? Or
like Noah? Or?
Yeah, is there a way to strategically skip Noah, or is it just like referenced, unfortunately?
No, it's not really referenced. Like, I think Kaiba does bring up anything with Gozaburo, but it's not like Noah specific. So you can really just skip it. I'm sure there's like I guess when I look into it, I'll put the episodes, but you can skip. I'm guessing you can skip a part in the timeline or in that timeline, like go from episode this to this if you want to skip that. I want to say it's like 98 to like 120 you can skip.
Right. I mean, the only reason I say that though is because it starts off with Kaiba blimp being hijacked to go to Alcatraz. So I don't know, how does that work, I guess, because the rest of these duels take place on a tower, I guess. Yeah,
Alcatraz.
Yeah, Alcatraz, the tower. So yeah, but anyway, this is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Battle City Arc Part 3 for us. It's called Part 2 normally, but it's called Part 3 for us because we split it into 3 parts with the Noah stuff getting in between that. So with that said, are you excited?
Yes.
Yes, we're ending this, we're finishing this up. The best season in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is unfortunately coming to a close, but this is what I want to say the best part of the whole Battle City is just like it's everything coming to a closure and things like that. So we've got a couple of duels here, and the first one that kicks off is the Battle Royale duel, the 4-way duel. Now this is between Seto Kaiba, Yami Merrick, Yami Yugi, and Joey Wheeler. So this is to decide who fights who, rather than just make a bracket like a normal person would, or a randomizer, like just put a bunch of numbers into a thing and then randomize them up, or anything that would have taken less time. The only way to obviously decide who fights who is to fight.
Yes.
I need you all to duel to decide who duels who.
Yes.
What did you think of this very unorthodox way of deciding the placement?
I mean, I think it's kind of transparent that it's like, shit, we need more time, or we need to throw in another duel. Like, I still enjoy it, but it's like, you know, I've waited long enough to get to the finals, please.
I feel like this was several things. I feel, like you just said, I feel like this was we still need a little bit of space to separate the anime from the manga. So that's probably why, because I think this is a to be continued, if I'm not mistaken. The 4-way duel. Yeah, it is. It's a 2-part. It's episodes 122 to 124. Yeah. So, damn, that's 2 episodes. Okay. Oh, God. And also, I guess they wanted to give us a chance to see everybody fighting everyone at once. Like a chance for us to see Joey fight Kaiba. A chance for us to see Yugi fight Merrick fight Kaiba, because Kaiba never duels Merrick in this tournament,
which is unfortunate. That would have been cool.
And, like, Yugi and Joey are fighting each other, but Yugi and Joey are mostly teammating with each other at this point. Like, I don't think there's any point where they fight each other at this point, because they both know who the real enemy is, which is Merrick. But yeah, it's like, it's so dangerous too. It's like anytime you lose life points, you move up. This little, like,
it's so like needlessly dangerous. Like, there's no shadow games, but they're like, still, maybe you'll fall off and die.
Right, like Kaiba just had to make this convoluted and more dangerous than it should have been. So obviously we get our results, because it's not over when someone loses life. Well, it's over when the first 2 people lose their life points, I believe, and that decides who duels who. which is again very convoluted. But it ends with Joey and Merrick being at the top, so those two will duel each other, and then that'll follow up with Yugi versus Kaiba, and then whoever wins those duels will be the ones dueling against each other. So we move on to our first duel. Oh boy, it's Merrick versus Joey, and I'll let you talk first.
Are you sure you don't want to talk first?
I hate this duel. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it with all of my soul. And I'll go into why. So the duel goes out, and I believe the highlighted moments was that Merrick is able to summon Winged Dragon of Ra. And Winged Dragon of Ra apparently has a phoenix form. Yes. So in addition to having a spear form and a normal form, which I guess we could talk about it because Winged Dragon of Ra's special ability is based on, like, its attack points are based on the monsters that were used to sacrifice it. So for example, if I sacrificed, I don't know, 3 monsters with 1,000 attack points, the Winged Dragon of Ra will have 3,000 attack points respectively, which is a very shitty way, unfortunately, to determine this monster's attack points, because generally when people sacrifice monsters, they sacrifice weak monsters for strong ones. You would never in your life sacrifice a strong monster to summon a slightly stronger monster, because the sum of those parts probably wouldn't equal up to the strong monster, but whatever. And it's the first time we really get to see Winged Dragon Ra in, like, action for real, with the exception of, like, I guess the My Duel, because it has a phoenix form, and I can't even remember what the phoenix form does. Do you remember?
Yeah, I know, because I'm confused. Like, it has 3, because I know that's the first one is sacrificing stuff. The second one comes out with Bakura when it's, like, the 1 attack kill.
Yeah, it can do like a 1 attack destroys. Yeah,
and then this third one is Phoenix form, which I don't really remember.
I think Phoenix form only exists when Winged Dragon of Ra is special summoned on the field after being sent to the graveyard.
Monster Reborn, yeah.
Yeah, like a phoenix. So it's allowed to attack the opponent once, but the cost is that it has to go to the graveyard after the attack is over. And Merrick attacks Joey to the point where he still has life points left, and he can barely move, and he has a chance to attack Merrick directly, thus winning the duel. However, since Joey was hit so hard, he just doesn't have the stamina to continue, so he can't say the word attack and almost dies and loses the duel.
Yeah.
This, to me, is the most disrespectful ass way to beat somebody in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! To me. Like, this bugs me so much. It's basically like remember when we were talking about how they wrote Merrick into a corner? And they make it so that Merrick is like, technically they try to make the hero win so badly to the point where Merrick is about to lose, but some bullshit happens. This is exactly what I was thinking of when we brought that up in the last part. Merrick didn't fucking win this duel. Joey fainted and lost. And some people have been making the argument, oh, well, this is Joey's first official Shadow Realm duel. But still, what do you think? Well, I'll get more into this in a second, but what do you think ultimately?
Like, I think it's a neat duel, but it does highlight, like, Merrick was never, in my opinion, like, I love him, obviously, but he's not really a good duelist. It's just that he has Ra. Like, that's it. That's what gets him usually out of everything. Because even the 4-way duel, he and Joey lose first. So it's like, he's not hard to beat if he doesn't have Ra.
Well, someone told me this a while back. A friend told me this a while back. They said Merrick's thing isn't really the duels themselves, hence why he manipulates people at the start. His whole gimmick is torturing the duelists, psyching them out, and hopefully their willpower will give before their life points give.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing behind it. Because that's why Joey loses. If it wasn't a shadow game, he wouldn't lose.
Right. Yeah, if it wasn't a shadow game. They even said technically if it wasn't a shadow game, Mai wouldn't have lost either.
Yeah.
So,
pretty much, seriously.
I'm a terrible duelist. I have to stab people while they're dueling in order to take me seriously. So Merrick is literally the kid that is annoying as hell to play a card game with until you give.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not good.
Yeah,
So,
he's not that
yeah.
great. So,
Yeah.
just it bugs me so much that he just.
Because, yeah, I don't think they had to push it as far as they did, with, like, Joey literally having to just say attack. And I mean, he could have even gotten the A part of attack out before he passes out. I'm like, they didn't have to push it that far, because that's just really frustrating, so.
Right. Okay, so just with the long story, I get it. I get what they're doing. Merrick is not really a duelist in the traditional sense. He's a torture duelist, which, yeah, that makes him look evil. Definitely makes him the most evil motherfucker. But in a tournament standpoint where dueling literally is everything, I think it does make it look awkward as a duelist.
It's kind of cheap.
It is kind of cheap. I mean, like I said, it is good for torture purposes. It shows how like screwed up in the head Merrick can be. But I just don't know. Just not being able to say attack is what bugs me a lot. So that's one of the reasons why I was bugged by it the most. So the next duel we've got here is the obvious one. Yugi versus Seto Kaiba. Round 3. The third duel. And obviously, let me ask this. How hyped were you for this duel specifically?
Not too much.
Okay, yeah, this is interesting. I want to know about this. Well, why though?
I don't know, just because it's like Yugi and Kaiba always have something going on, which I understand, but it's like after a while I kind of get bored of it. Especially because this duel is literally the longest one in the whole tournament. And I'm like, but it's not even the final.
Is it really the longest one?
Yeah, it's 6 episodes.
You're lying.
6 episodes.
Let me check. Okay, wow. Yep, 129 all the way up to... Oh my god. Yeah, it's 129 going all the way up until freaking... Whoa, like it's like 134, 129 to 134. So yeah, that's quite a bit. And oh goodness. And I guess they did this because actually it's 134. So actually I guess they did this because they're the fated rivals, Yugi, Kaiba.
Right.
Me personally, I was still a little heated about Joey and Merrick. That's probably why I wasn't I was over the whole Yugi versus Kaiba thing. Because also, there's not a lot really riding on this duel, to be perfectly honest.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think this duel just exists.
Cool. Yeah, but I'm like, I don't know. It's so. I mean, they're good characters, but I get tired of it being Yugi Kaiba for so long.
Yeah, I think it's just because this is simply just a Yugi Kaiba standpoint at this point. It's just like when you see like your two favorite anime characters fighting, but they're both supposed to be on the same side or something. It's just one of those hero versus anti-hero situations. So yeah, it was like compared to the overarching plot, there's not much at stake here for real. So you're really just like wanting to see the next duel go so quickly, because at this point you know several things. One, Joey lost simply because we knew Yugi had to duel Merrick, which is a dumbass, like, if you really stop to think about it, that's a dumbass reasoning for Joey to lose, on top of the fact that he couldn't say attack. Like, I think what bugs me the most is that if Joey had lost the duel just specifically by losing life points, like if the Phoenix mode took him off guard or something, and he just lost life points, that wouldn't have been as bad. I guess they wanted to do that to show how strong Joey can be potentially.
Right, yeah.
But to show both Yugi and Joey, to show both Yugi and Joey have a shot at beating Merrick. But I think overall they did this so that they could get straight to the point, because we know unfortunately Yugi has to duel Merrick. That's just how it has to be. They think like he's the main villain of the season and Yugi is the hero, so it has to come to this. So the Yugi versus Kaiba duel to me is just a means to one to two things. One, Yugi needs an opponent before Merrick, and two, Yugi needs the last Egyptian god card.
Pretty much.
Kaiba's nothing more than Obelisk giving like a card at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
not giving it up without a fight. It's
right.
Long-winded.
Yeah, it's a long. Until you told me, I didn't even know it was a long fight until I really stopped and thought about it. And Kaiba has to be so grandiose about this fight. He turns the whole field into a coliseum.
Yeah, and they're like cheering for him. I'm like, dude, you're a little insecure.
What? This wasn't even a field card, was it? This was just like a
No,
hologram.
it was just a hologram.
Oh my god!
Like, here, I'm very confident in my skill, but let me program a stadium of people to cheer for me.
It was so grandiose, and I think this was just supposed to be the cool factor and serve as nothing more than just look how cool this shit is. Do you see this shit? Do you see how cool this shit is? Because we definitely want to show you how cool this shit is. I believe at some point during the duel, Yugi summons Slifer and Kaiba summons Obelisk, and I think the two are just beating each other up.
Yeah, and it's early on, too.
Yeah.
Like, I think the God cards aren't even in most of the duel.
Yeah, they come out early just to show, I guess, Yugi and Kaiba at their peak. Mm-hmm. But what it really winds up coming down to is, oh boy, the stone tablet one, the Yugi and Kaiba Blue Eyes and Dark Magician showdown. Oh, I guess we'll split this up. What do you think about this? Because I think midway in the duel they go back in time or something, right?
Yeah, they like see a vision of all the stuff in the past, so that kind of breaks it up.
So what did you think of that? Is there anything you wanted to add on that, or was there anything noteworthy in that?
I mean, I don't mind it because it's like, okay, at least it's more plot, like overarching, that Kaiba does have like skin in the game, so to speak, about like all the Egypt stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's still like so vague that it's like, okay,
like Kaiba's still in denial too. He's like, that man may look like me, use the exact same monster as me, but there's no way he is me. Like, like Kaiba, open your eyes and stop being an idiot.
Right, as like half the other contestants are in a coma. It's like, none of this is real.
Right.
It's so funny.
It's all fake. Smoke and mirrors. Oh, goodness. I believe at one point in the duel, Yugi does use Red Eyes Black Dragon.
Yeah.
So I like that. That he still has Joey's card. Because Joey...
that's right, because Joey's like in the hospital at this point, and so that, I think, like wakes Joey up.
Yeah.
When he uses Red Eyes, yeah.
Yeah, and it goes to show that Yugi is, Joey said he only wants the Red Eyes back after the tournament. When he duels Yugi, tried to earn it back. So I like that. So basically, Joey's dueling with... Wow, if you stop to think about it, Joey's dueling with less than less his full power because he doesn't even have his best card. He's just using other people's cards and Swordsman of Landstar. But no, seriously, I do like that Yugi uses Joey's card in the duel. Just like I guess Kaiba would think of that as an insult too, like you're using that pathetic Wheeler's card.
Yeah, I think he does get pissed off.
Yeah.
Get that out of my face.
Get that out of my face. In the end, I believe Yugi beats him with Dark Paladin.
Yeah.
Fusing Buster Blader and Dark Magician together to make Dark Paladin. So, overall, let's give our closing thoughts on this one. What'd you think of Yugi and Kaiba, with Yugi being the winner? Surprise, surprise.
I mean, I kind of enjoy it because Kaiba does usually like get on my nerves, so I kind of enjoy seeing him lose.
Oh, wow.
but it's just so long that I'm like,
it is a dragging duel. It's it's to me the results were painted on the wall long before the duel was over. So I think a lot of this was just sort of like to show how much these two characters have grown since Duelist Kingdom, because they're using far more powerful cards since then.
Right.
And in the last duel, technically Kaiba won, but he had to almost kill himself to get the W.
Yeah.
So Yugi won 1, Kaiba won 1, and I guess this would be the tiebreaker duel. And like, if you look at it outside of its plot, outside of the overarching plot, it is, to me, I believe it's a somewhat entertaining duel. Like
there's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, in no way at all does this feel like a boring duel. Compared to what's already happening in the overarching plot, this duel is the like weakest of the rest of the duels. Not in the whole tournament, but just like in this particular situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like they made it long specifically for one to cover Yugi and Kaiba's relationship with as rivals, two to cover the Egyptian plot, and three just because it needs to be done. It's a tournament. This is what better way to. But it does make Kaiba look kind of embarrassing when he loses, though, because like look at all these people who watched you get your butt kicked.
All these virtual people, but yeah, they do televise it too.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's on TV, right? Yeah, it's recorded. Yeah. So it's like, wow, they seen Kaiba lose once, and the first time Yugi beat Kaiba, I don't even think it was recorded. I think just like it was just in some place, and it got all around, and everybody talked about it. So now everyone's gonna talk about this.
You're that guy who lost to Yugi.
Again!
Like pulling a Max in Pokemon. You lost in the second round.
Damn. But the next duel that we move on to is a bit of an interesting one because it's not a tournament duel. It is a duel in a much different sense. After Yugi beats Kaiba, Kaiba gives Yugi 2 cards. He gives him some Archfiend card. I can't remember what it's called.
The Sanctuary one?
Archfiend of Sanctuary. Yeah, Sanctuary of Archfiend or something. And then he gives him Obelisk the Tormentor. And I believe this is Kaiba trying to help Yugi beat Merrick. Because obviously since he can't beat Merrick because he lost the tournament, it's up to Yugi to do it. Well, real fast, what do you think of that exchange?
I think it's good, because it's like, well, I think towards the end of this duel, like, because Kaiba, part of the reason he loses, like, at least written on paper, is because he's so caught up in, like, hating Yugi and trying to beat him that kind of works against him and he loses. So Mokuba, like, has a little thing where he's like, you know, I just want you to be a good person, like, stop being an asshole. And so I think that's kind of why Kaiba's like, alright, here, have this card, I'll be nice, just go win. Which is like, okay, cool, we got some growth out of that.
There's a weird part of me that thinks it's an ego thing that he did that. Like a I lost to you, which means you need to beat Merrick, otherwise it looks like I lost twice. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
like I want the person who's the champion of this tournament to be the only person in the tournament who could beat me.
Yeah.
Like a weird situation of that.
Yeah. Well, I know it's later on in season 4, but when Kaiba has his temper tantrum over Yugi losing.
Right.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Right.
But
that's way off.
Yeah. Just like I believe the next duel is weird. Joey's out of his coma, by the way. He just sort of...
because apparently he's important enough to the plot where he can just wake up.
Right. It's just like, really? Like, he hasn't even been in a coma that long, if you stop to think about it. Like, Mai and the others have been in comas since... They've been in comas before the Noah arc.
30 episodes.
Right. They've been in comas before the Noah arc. And they've been in comas since then. Joey's been in a coma for, like... a day.
Like 4 episodes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like nothing.
And then now he's just back up and ready to roll. Like, what? But I guess, and I know why. It's because of this next duel. So, for reasons I can't really understand, maybe you can clarify it a bit better than I can, because, like, I remember this duel, which is odd. I can remember it, but part of me is like, why, though? Joey duels Kaiba, and I cannot for the life of me remember why this happened, though.
I think I don't know, I think it just starts from some sort of argument or tension, and Joey's just kind of like, hey, duel me right now.
I think, like, Kaiba's just like, how did you...
He's like, no, you're not worth my time. And Joey's like, okay, and then they fight.
I think Kaiba just was like, I'm surprised you got up so quickly, you pathetic dog. I thought you'd be done for. And Joey's like, I'm tired of your shit. Let's duel for third place. And it's just so funny to think about.
Why not?
Let's duel for the bronze medal. Like, are you serious? I know why this duel exists, though. Like I know the writer's reason for why it exists. The story reason is kind of weird, but the writer's reason is they want to make Kaiba look competent.
Right.
Because at this point, he beat some of the rare hunters. He beat a Shizu, but obviously he won't get the chance to fight Merrick. But Yugi's gonna duel Merrick. So if Kaiba and Joey almost beat Merrick, which means if Kaiba loses to Yugi and Yugi beats Merrick while Joey almost beat Merrick, it'll make Kaiba look like he could never beat Merrick to begin with. So they gotta show how competent Kaiba is as a character.
Yeah.
And curb stomp Joey, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
And
Joey's always the fall guy.
Yeah, unfortunately. They had to knock Joey down a peg for the sake of Kaiba keeping his status as Yugi's main rival. So what did you think of this duel?
It's another one where it's like I was already like, can we just get to the end? Like, I really didn't feel we needed it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know.
Kaiba's got like 700 life points at the end of this one, too.
Yeah, it's not like a blowout.
Yeah, it's not a flawless victory like it was with Duelist Kingdom. Yeah, in Duelist Kingdom, Kaiba completely curb stomped Joey. And this one, Joey, like, I think they're trying to show Joey's growth as a character simultaneously by showing that Joey hung in there a little bit longer than he did the first time. So,
and it's interesting, too, to note with this one that, you know, all the other duels have been super, like, this is for my pride or for, you know, people not dying. But this one, towards the end, Joey's like, oh, this is for fun. And Kaiba's like, I don't do this for fun. Joey's like, why?
I don't do this for fun. People have been, people are in comatoses and we destroyed this entire arena.
It's just weird how suddenly this one is for fun.
How
like,
dare
did you really have to put this in now?
How dare do you want to have fun in a game? Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You want to have fun in a trading card game? What are you, high?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's so weirdly unnecessarily epic.
Right.
Right, and I believe there's other stuff happening while this is happening to prevent it from being 100% filler. I believe what also happens during this, Taya ends up getting possessed by Merrick, because Merrick always possessed her. I believe he just had his grip on Taya the whole time.
Yeah, since that duel with Yugi and Joey.
Yeah, he just never let go of the grip. It was like a backup plan for if his plans were to fail. So, with that, Taya heads off to go retrieve the Millennium Rod from Evil Merrick. Well, Super Evil Merrick. And while this is happening, freaking acrobatic moves are done.
Yeah, she's like flipping around.
Taya's doing parkour and shit on Merrick.
Yeah.
What did you think of this weird exchange of acrobatics?
It's so funny. Like, and then I'm thinking, I'm like, is it really, like, can Taya just do that? Or, like, can Merrick do it? Like,
Well,
who's doing it?
I like to tell myself that Taya has the body but not the mind to do it.
Yeah.
Only because Taya did say that when she met Joey and Yugi, she was working at a burger joint to raise money to do dancing.
Right, yeah. She wants to be a dancer.
So I like to believe that Taya's body allowed for it to happen.
But is there like a button in her head that Merrick can press?
I feel like
moves?
I was saying, I feel like Merrick I feel like Merrick can access parts of the body that can do it, but the body has to be able to do it. Like if he tried to do that with some fat out of shape dude, why did he fall on his ass?
Oh
These controls aren't working. He has to heavy breathe every 5 seconds.
Oh
I chose a terrible body to possess. Curse you, Pharaoh. Oh God, that's
it's a very amusing scene.
That's my theory, at least, is that after all this, Yugi catches them in the act, and Merrick's just like, "Bye, I'll get you during our duel," and Yugi's like, "You better run, bitch." And after that, Kaiba wins, and we move on to the big one, the duel that everyone was waiting. I'm sorry. You're probably more enthusiastic about this duel than I am. I like it. I like the duel, but so the duel is between Yugi and Super Evil Merrick. And what do you think, at least of the first half? We'll go through the rest of it later.
Where do you break off the halves?
I guess when the Egyptian God cards are just sort of, because the whole gimmick of this duel too, because every Shadow game has a gimmick behind it. This one is that they have their weaker halves chained up, and every time they lose life points, I believe they lose a bit of themselves.
Yeah.
So whoever loses will die, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Yu-Gi-Oh lose Little Yugi, and Merrick will lose Little Merrick. Not as evil Merrick. Merrick Light. Merrick Zero with less of the Merrick calories. And I say the cutoff is just like, I believe, after the Egyptian God card squabble. Because there's still more duel after that.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the first part of this?
I mean, it's good. It's hard for me to like divide it up in my brain.
Oh, okay. Well, then you could just say the whole. You could just say the whole thing. Then I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Well, I think early on Yugi uses the card Kaiba gave him, like the Theme Sanctuary one.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but it's also, well, that's more towards the end. But it's still like a lot of back and forth, which there's always in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it kind of frustrates me. Where, I think at one point Merrick is like fused with Ra. And Yugi's like, oh, well, I can sacrifice a monster on his side, so I'll sacrifice Ra, so then he'll be dead and we'll be good. But then, like, last minute, Merrick, like, uses defusion. And he's like, oh, haha, no, I'm not dead. I'm like, I just hate that sort of stuff.
Merrick,
like,
you can't use the fusion. Yeah. Winged Dragon of Ra is not a fusion monster, and you just gave up your life points to fuse with him. You didn't use polymerization, and you're not a monster. I mean, you're a monster, but you're not a monster. You're not a dual monster. Yeah, you're not a trading card, or else Natalie would have gotten you a long time ago. Could you rock a Merrick Ishtar card?
Please give me one. I'll take 10.
This monster cannot be special summoned or set. This monster can only be normal summoned by sacrifice. Your insanity.
Fair trade. Let's do it.
Okay, so I remember in this duel a lot did happen. Winged Dragon of Ra made its major debut in this one as well, but I believe it was mostly just in its regular form. I believe Yugi used Obelisk and Slifer, a combination of the two. And I believe Obelisk punches the shit out of Merrick.
Knocks his lights out.
It's like the most dramatic punch I've ever seen in my life.
So funny.
Because it's so well animated, too.
Yeah.
It's like
one of those real nice looking episodes.
Yeah, and I believe so many weird facial expressions in this episode, too. Like, I don't know if the artist got better or what, but like hair's spikier, like eyes are
lots of bulging eyeballs.
Yeah,
great.
It's just amazing madness. Yeah. And I believe that they're trying their best not to harm lightly evil Merrick.
Right.
Because they still want him to be around. They just don't want the evil Merrick to be around. So I believe what happens is, like you said, there's a lot of tomfoolery, like with dual diffusion, and I sacrifice all but one of my life points, and I'm just like, this is stupid. This is dumb as hell.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but I believe also what happens is they use Merrick uses a card that basically copies obelisks to make a fake obelisk. Doesn't that happen at some point?
Yeah, and he like pairs it with Revival Jam.
So a lot of cool stuff happens. It's a cool looking duel, and I believe Yugi ends it all by having all of his monsters attack at once.
Yes, with Ragnarok, which we've never heard of ever before.
Yeah, I think it's a real card, but Yugi just pulls Ragnarok out of pure nowhere. Just plot armored BS. And then at the end, it's not even wiping out his life points that does him in. I think what happens is it switches somehow they switch the two Merricks. Can you elaborate on that? Like how?
Yeah, because it's kind of like a little subplot outside of the duel where, like, good quote unquote Merrick like is thinking like, oh, okay, I'll die. I want to die. And then his family's like, no, don't. And he's like, oh, okay. So he like tries really hard to live, and then he like temporarily overpowers evil Merrick, so they swap.
Ah,
And
okay.
that's when,
And
yeah.
all that's left of evil Merrick is like an eyeball.
Yeah.
And I will menacingly stare at the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
I'm staring at you, Pharaoh. But yeah, and at that point, it's slightly less evil Merrick gives up, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just sort of puts his hand on the he surrenders, and the eye just goes. It just just disappears. It's gone, which means everything's over. Yugi wins. Yeah. What do you think overall? Because this is the climactic duel, obviously. So
yeah, from like if you're just invested in the duel, I could see how that's disappointing because it's like it was a surrender. That's not even fun. But I like it because I love Merrick, so I get a lot of characterization in these episodes. But,
yeah. I mean,
I think that's interesting.
For the protagonist versus antagonist final battle, it's cool. Everything looks cool. It's a visually pleasing duel. Mm-hmm. Great animation, great use of like, you know, some of the monsters and the cards. They're low-key breaking some rules at this point. Like, I know they're breaking some rules. You don't even have to tell me some of those card descriptions. I know they're breaking some rules, at least. The fusion speaks for itself. But I believe, like, to me, the only reason I'm not as enthusiastic about this is only because, like, I feel like this duel was such a giveaway.
Right.
Yeah, it was like and obviously we know how the main character is not the destination, it's the journey. So we knew Yugi was gonna win. The interesting part is how he's gonna win, but it feels to me like a lot more people had a lot more riding on them than Yugi did versus Merrick.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Yugi had to defeat Merrick simply because Merrick is bad and thus he needs to be taken down. But things hit Joey personally, like with Mai and, you know, all of that. I don't think Merrick did anything intentionally to Yugi to make him want to beat Merrick other than the fact that he's evil and must be stopped. Like, if anything, Merrick's whole story is I want to kill the Pharaoh. Like, that's the gist of his story. Yugi's the victim, yes, and he's defending himself, but there's nothing really at stake for Yugi except, oh, I'm fighting for the people that, like, maybe if Joey had stayed knocked out a little longer, maybe then it could be like, I'm doing this for Joey or something. But no, it's just like I'm doing this for everyone because I kind of am the only one left.
Yeah, because honestly, that might have, I think, worked better as if you had flopped the semifinals, but like do Kaiba versus Yugi first and then do Joey versus Merrick.
Yes.
Because like that would probably work better.
Absolutely. That would have been a lot better, actually. That would have been way better. I think the only reason that they did that was so Joey can get back up and fight for the bronze medal, and they didn't know nowhere else to put that, so they had to do it this way. Which was frustrating, but it's done now. There's nothing that can really be done about it. Too bad. So, yeah, it just, this was, I like it. So, I don't even want to give off the impression that I don't like the duel. I believe my only issue with it is that it feels like it happened because it has to happen. Everything that happened up to this point is just sort of like a Yugi, you have to do it because you're the one. Yeah, and I get it. He's the main character. He has to win. And he did. I mean, overall, he did beat the bad guy, which is good. It's just, I guess, getting older and looking at it now, if we're looking at it through I guess we can say this, through an action perspective, it looked cool. It was great. Through a character development standpoint, though, it's kind of weird. Yeah.
Like, for Yugi himself, usually that's what it, like, for Yami Yugi, that's usually, it's like, the fate of the world depends on it. Like, okay, cool.
At least with Pegasus, we had Grandpa on the line. Yeah, we've got people on the line. It's like, Yugi, you must defeat Merrick to save Mai and Odia. You know,
Bakura. Who?
Bakura. You know those people you slightly care about.
Yeah.
The Odion.
Exactly.
I don't even think Yugi and Odion talk.
Probably not.
Oh, but yeah, just I wish like Merrick had done something to Yugi's friends or something, or maybe like his grip on Taya knocks Taya out, or I don't know, just something that made it seem like there was much more at stake for Yugi, like his character. Because we talked about this before, and I remember you said it way back in our first video, which we did upload. Yugi's character, Yami Yugi's character at least, doesn't really have much to grow on, and that's his biggest flaw. And I think that takes effect here a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just too perfect.
Yeah,
like,
He's
really
like,
struggle.
he won because he had to win.
Yeah.
But in the end, all is well. The day is saved. Merrick reveals himself to be a tomb keeper, along with Shizu and Odion. They thank Yugi by not only giving him the Winged Dragon of Ra, completing his Egyptian god set, but he also reveals on his back he has the secrets of the Pharaoh, but Yugi can't read them, so...
That sucks.
I showed you my back, Pharaoh, for no reason.
It's so funny. I went through all this torture. It's like, oh, I can't fucking read that.
What? Put it through Google Translate, Mary.
Oh my god. Let me get a pic of this. I just take some photos.
Right?
Oh my god.
But we're in Japan. Speak English like everyone else. But oh man, it's more backstory on Egypt, which is good, but it's also bad because like I guess from a standpoint, only because we know what's gonna happen after this, but yeah, I do find it interesting though. What did you think of the whole Tomb Keeper's backstory stuff?
Backstory.
Puns.
I think it's interesting. Like, I mean, the end really, honestly, isn't very satisfying for me, because it's like all of Merrick's stress or issues or whatever is like, I went through this initiation, because he probably takes his shirt off like 5 times in the course of the show. And yeah, and then when he does this,
that's why you like Merrick.
Listen, everyone needs fan service. But anyway. But no, so when he does it for Yugi, when it's supposed to matter, it's like, oh, that's cool. It's like, okay, that wasn't a really good payoff, but, so it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Because I think the whole Ishtars are just like, oh, we're good now, I guess we're just gonna go home.
Yeah.
So
that's literally what they decide to do. They're like, well, we don't have to tomb keep no more.
Yeah, we could do family things.
Right, let's go to Six Flags. Let's go to Disney World, Odion. It's time to Disneyland.
Oh my god.
Oh, but so yeah, at that point too, with me, I do like that it connects somehow to the overarching Egyptian plot. I like how it always goes back to that. That way it doesn't feel completely random when, they do reference it. Because they reference it a lot. There's always been references to it. I believe, though, this is the first time where, like, okay, we finally beat the main villain, and the main villain is openly telling us, hey, there's a lot you need to know here. The only problem is, I believe that if Yugi could read it, then we get more segue, but we don't. So it's just sort of falls flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, I believe the only other thing that happens after this, weirdly, is a recap episode.
Right. Because it's dragged on for so long.
And it's so awkward because Taya's just like, remember when this happened? And Serenity's like, I was there, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but remember that this happened? Like 20 minutes of that. So.
And then we fought Noah. I know! And
I was literally there.
And I don't want to remember it. It's filler.
Yeah. Remember when your brother almost died? Rather not. Natalie,
remember when we started this Yu-Gi-Oh review?
Let's just play an hour long of that. So
I was just gonna say, let's just play the beginning of the video again.
Please go back to part 1.
Hello, everybody. Turn around the guy 3 here. I'm here with Natalie. But no.
Kingdom.
Yeah. So, but no. Seriously, that was weird. And
yeah.
I'll just begrudgingly ask you, what did you think of that?
I mean, I guess I don't mind recap. Like, I'll skip it. But
as a kid, I got so mad. I was like, when's the next thing gonna happen?
Yeah. I guess it makes sense considering where the plot goes from here, that they'd want to sum this up.
This was a desperate. I guess because of the Noah stuff too, probably.
Yeah.
The Noah stuff was like a big everything got messed up. So then obviously I guess the ways to record shows I think were very limited at this point. Like only a few people probably had DVR and. Yeah. So there was no real way to go back.
Right.
Unless you record it on a VHS tape, whatever the hell those are. But yeah, after that, then we see Yugi and Joey duel each other so that Joey can get his red eyes black dragon. There's no known winner, but Joey has his black dragon back, so we assume he won. So Joey's better than Yugi, I guess. I don't know.
That's very frustrating.
I always like to see, this bugs me. I always like to imagine the fact that if Yugi should have dueled him without turning Yami.
Yeah.
Then at least if Joey beats him, it's justifiable.
Yeah.
But
because that's the thing, it's more like Yugi, like little Yugi and Joey that have a friendship more than
Yami and Joey. Yeah. So I like to imagine that, but. Whatever. It's supposed to be like a hey, we'll end this right here situation. And I'm guessing at this point they probably didn't know if they were going to continue Yu-Gi-Oh or not. The reason I say that, are you serious? Go ahead.
Well, because I know that duel with just Yugi and Joey getting ready to duel, that's where the manga ends. Well, like the original Duelist manga, but I think the anime knew they were gonna continue, more, and that's why we got a clip show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's totally off the rails
but
from the manga.
So the manga's done after that, or is there still another?
There's another arc, but that'll be the Egyptian stuff in season 5.
Right, because it skips. Yeah. We get not 1 but 2 filler arcs.
Back to back.
After this, so and we will talk about those arcs, but first, before all of that happens, there's a 1 hour and 30-minute adventure that takes place in between those that takes place, and let's just say a certain god of death is involved. So, the next time that we meet back, and first I want to just say, before we get into that, let's go into just the closing thoughts of just all of this, minus Noah. Just Battle City in general. What are your closing thoughts? What did you think of everything overall?
Well, Battle City is clear by far my favorite, but it is very long. And some of the duels have very cheap wins, but I will take what I can get in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I love the characters.
Compared to Duelist Kingdom, this is a godsend, though.
Yeah, they at least have better rules.
Yeah, they at least attempt to stick with the actual rules. To me, this is the peak. I'd like to believe this is the peak of Yu-Gi-Oh! Even after we uploaded our first video, people were dying to hey, are you going to do the Battle City stuff? Obviously we are. And I can see why, because this was popular for a reason. This was a really good arc. Just because of all the subplots that took place, everything that was on the line, the level of threats that happened, it immediately increased. The danger of the rare hunters roaming the streets, taking people's rare cards, plus a citywide tournament. Reoccurring characters that we long thought were gone are making a comeback. Just a lot of things taking place, and it really showed off the style that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was starting to evolve into. It was becoming a lot more than just, hey, we need to advertise these trading cards. We're gonna stick a lot of events into this and make the world come alive more.
Right.
Like I do like that Duelist Kingdom did start off as a simple tournament, but it was all sort of, it felt all condensed, if that made any sense. The adventure revolved mostly around Yugi, Joey, Taya, Tristan walking around the island, meeting new conflicts. Where here, you've got Yugi dueling the rare hunters, but in the other side of the city, you got Joey dueling old reoccurring characters that have gotten better. You've got Kaiba discovering more about the Egyptian plot. You've got, you've got other rare hunters taking over things, Egyptian god cards. You've got you just got a whole lot happening at once, and then when it all ties together and has all the characters come together, it's just a great way of storytelling when you can take 4 different subplots and bring them together into one climactic arc. And I think that's what Battle City did really well. I think it told a story very well. A bit over the top sometimes. And some things only happened for the sake of dramatics, but it was a good arc in telling the story that is Yu-Gi-Oh!
I would agree.
Alright, so with that said, though, back to what we were saying before with the hour-and-a-half adventure between the certain death god. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie! Yu-Gi-Oh! Was popular enough for it to deem itself a movie, so we will obviously be talking about it. And the next time we meet, Natalie and I will be tackling Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie, or Yu-Gi-Oh! The Pyramid of Light. Ooh. So, with that said, it's time to Drew. That's Natalie's YouTube. It's her Twitter. She's got a Tumblr. Check these things out. The link will be in the description. Is there anything you want to end off on?
No. That's it.
Alright, thank you for being here yet again, Natalie. It's really fun. I've been having a really great time talking about these arcs. And I believe we're gonna have a really great time talking about this movie. So with that said, look forward to it. See you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3, out.